Howdy everyone, PrairieRanger here, and today in this video, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be discussing 5 reasons why I'm not excited for Forza Horizon 5. Number 1, there's not really anything new. It's pretty much just a stopgap for a future proper next-gen Horizon, which will be Horizon 6. Now, it may be one of the most visually impressive games and racing games in a long time since like Drive Club on the PS4, but there isn't a lot of new features or anything. It's still mainly the same game as 3 was, as 4 was. It's not really taking the game and expanding upon it, making a real new features or making it exciting in any way. It's just the same old thing. For Pete's sakes, we don't even have things like 900-degree wheel rotation. Those are probably things that won't come until the next Horizon game, as well as proper ray tracing. And, a real proper in-depth story rather than the open-endedness of games like Horizon 3 and Horizon 4, and even Horizon 2 to a certain extent, compared to previous, like the first game had a fleshed out story. In Horizon 4, and it seems the same in 5, you have this open nature where you want to do something, you have to hunt for it on the map, and there's just no clear direction. It doesn't really seem to do anything new. Like, even seasons, it's like they're localized, but it's not really anything groundbreaking. Like, it's pretty much just features that were in the previous game. There's no real special thing. Like in Horizon 2, it was obviously graphics. And in Horizon 3, we kind of got more open worldness and stuff. In Horizon 4, we got seasons, and 5 doesn't really improve upon that. Point number 2 I have is this. Point number 2. Cars seem to handle pretty much the same. I know in the video, the dev videos that they had, like the Horizon unboxed, the unlocked video that they had, some prior Forza Monthly videos, they talked about how they improved the handling by making it the ABS work more realistically and stuff like that, and how they changed the handling and tire wear and all that. But if you look at the actual gameplay, it doesn't really seem to differ all that much from the prior Horizon games, which makes it pretty much just the same game, but with a new map. And if you notice in the Forza Horizon 5 Unlocked video, which was published earlier today, or it could be yesterday, depending on when this video comes out, you'll notice at around the... Well, they have a part with a monster truck, which if you go past the part where they show you racing the monster trucks, which in itself looks a little jank, considering how you see the monster trucks just kind of drop unrealistically. But the actual monster truck handling itself seems honestly not really like a monster truck. It just seems like the suspension is so stiff, for one thing, and the car, it just kind of slides into the walls, and it doesn't really have that raw energy or any real exciting driving that you expect to have a monster truck. They were able to make driving a monster truck look boring, which is ridiculous because like every game, even games that are like 10 years old, games from back from 2005, look more realistic and have better monster truck. Like they monster truck handling in this. It just looks like they slapped the standard car physics on a monster truck. They don't even seem to have. It's just not very good. And if you notice in the video, you'll notice a section where they have a monster truck, the monster truck, to jump over a jump, and it does a backflip. But that backflip just looks so staged and fake and just does not even look good at all. The monster truck can't even do a wheelie. It's just, and their idea of an exciting event to do in a monster truck, not to jump over cars and crush them and destroy little fake houses on the thing. It's to hit giant bowling pins which have no weight to them at all. It's like, it's not very satisfying. And in the video, you notice, it's so boring that they literally go to look at a house with plants on it instead of drive the monster truck. That's how boring it was that the own devs of the game didn't want to drive it anymore. So it obviously, yeah, they don't really tweak their engine to really account for new vehicle types like this, but it's just because it's the same handling. They're not going to work on one for a new handling engine for this game because they got Horizon 6 and Motorsport 8, or the reboot as it's called, which is a separate issue. Like, it's kind of a poor decision if you ask me. But let's move on from that for a while and talk about my third point. Point number 3 is poor progression. If you've watched any videos of Forza Horizon 5 yet, you probably noticed that in the Star mission you get to drive 3 cars. Well, no, yeah, 3 cars. And one of which is one of the Star cars. But the starter cars are a new Bronco, a C8 Corvette wide body, and a Toyota Supra, the new one. Not an old one, not the old one with pop-up headlights, not the Celica Supra, the brand new Supra, and it's even modified already. It has a custom spoiler. And it's like, those are the starter cars? It's like such a bad group of cars to do. It's like, they practically give you cars that everybody wants right in the start of the game. You have no reason to progress through the game to get better cars, and they don't feel special because it's like, oh, I got Corvette. Why am I going to go and drive anything slower than this? And I get they're obviously pandering to children who want to get a hypercar or a supercar in the start of the game, but it's just, what happened to games like Need for Speed or even older Horizon titles? Like, this is probably the most unbalanced starter car selection of any Forza game yet, because even in Horizon 4 we had Dodge Charger, which was a reasonable starter car, although it was modified. It would have been better if it was stock, and then a Focus RS and an Audi TT, and I think those were like B or A class cars. Meanwhile, in Horizon 5, it gets even worse. I thought Forza was bad. You have like an S1 class Corvette and like a B or A tier Bronco and Supra, which is just ridiculous. It just doesn't encourage people to progress their game. Just, oh, here's a car that everybody would want, like the Supra. And to make matters worse, you don't just get one of these cars, you get all 3. You got the Supra, the C8 Corvette, and the Bronco. It's like previous games, yeah. I wish they would have done it more like prior games, or even Need for Speed or The Crew, where, here's a low tier car. Like in Horizon 1, you got a literal Volkswagen Colorado, which was, I think, a D-class car. Although games like Need for Speed do it better because they give you a very, not like a very slow car. And Motorsport 4 did good where here's your star car, here's a hatchback, here's a car that's not fast at all. And another thing that they did, I think it kind of makes sense they give you those cars in a way because they purposely killed the lower class racing, because D class cars are like from like spec 100 to like 350 or 450, something like that. There's this huge area of where there's so many cars stuck in that class. Well, not usually, because they usually don't have a lot of cars in those classes. It's just not a very good system, if you ask me. And then there's also the upgrade system of how you have a car, you upgrade its tires, it has 100 horsepower or something, and it goes from D class to like B or A class, which is ridiculous. And yeah, the other thing is like the story. It seems in this game, in Horizon 5, you're pretty much the star of the festival or something, similar to Horizon 3. So it's like it just is completely, it doesn't really have that fun aspect of being a nobody and progressing to somebody who's actually good. Like in earlier games, Horizon 1 and 2 and 4 was a little better than 3 in that regard. Although the stories in every game since 1 have been kind of very bare bones. And there's one other issue with progression that I'm sure many people are familiar with. It's the wheel spins. Wheel spins still plague the 5th game in the same way that they did in 3rd and 4th game. Which is, yeah, they add them to, obviously, as I said before, pander to people who want to get a hypercar. You spin the wheel and you get a car that's like $5 million or a brand new hypercar, and you don't even have to work for it. It doesn't make that experience of working your way up to get the money to buy a hypercar. Like in Need for Speed and in the Crew, too. Less so in the Crew one, but you grind a little bit in some events, or you do the career. And then when you do get a hypercar, you feel like, I earned this, and it has a certain, you have more of an attachment to it. In Horizon, they just give you a million cars just right off the bat. The wheel spins just give you way too much stuff. They give you tons of money and cars. And it's like in the Horizon 4, I had a wheel spin where I got 3 cars all over $300,000 in one wheel spin. And I've gotten cars that are like $5 million from a wheel spin. It's like there's no progression at all. And you can get like 1,000,000 credits with the super wheel spins, which the games just give you and give you and give you. You get one practically every time you turn your back or do literally anything in the game. They just throw more and more wheel spins at you, which is ridiculous. Point number 4. It has to do with the map. The map it's 1.5 times bigger than Horizon 4's map. But Horizon 4's map is really tiny because it takes like maybe 10 or so minutes to go around the entirety of the map in a good car. Like 10-15 minutes, and it's only 1.5 times bigger. Sure, the Horizon maps are really detailed. Like, yes, this map has a ton of detail, but like prior Horizon games, they don't really encourage exploration at all. It just feels like you go for 5 minutes and you practically explored the whole map, which is just underwhelming. And then they have to rely on DLCs to give new map locations or new experiences. It's just the maps are not a very good thing about Horizon. I prefer maps like The Crew or even Need for Speed games where you explore the map, it feels ginormous. Even TDU2 and TDU1, which came out in 2011 and like 2006, have larger maps. In TDU2, in the Test Drive Unlimited games, it can take like a whole hour to go around the outer perimeter of the map. And Horizon 5 will probably take like 15 minutes around there, something like that, depending on how the roads are and how straight they are, which is not that really impressive. Yeah, it's disappointing because they're probably, we'll see a decent sized map probably in Horizon 6, but because of the limited power of current gen consoles, they can't make a big map that actually lends itself to exploration or anything. They kind of encouraged exploration a bit to a certain extent with barn finds, some of them requiring you to do certain things, but at least that's what they said in the videos. But I do wonder if those are actually requirements or just like shows you the location, because in Horizon 4 and other Horizon games, you could literally go to any barn find if you could drive to the location, even if you didn't get the notification of there's a barn find nearby, you could just drive to it anyway. So it's like, yeah, it will be interesting to see if that's actually the case. And point number 5, it has to do with the car list. The car list is actually smaller in this game than in the previous Forza Horizon 4 game. In Horizon 4, they had over 700 cars, and that's after, of course, all the development, but it is kind of surprising that Horizon 5 doesn't have those cars, and is also missing key brands like Alfa Romeo, and I'm pretty sure Bentley is as well as a whole bunch of other ones, which is really surprising, considering, well, it probably has to do with licensing issues, but it's a little bit underwhelming to go from 700 cars to less than 500 cars at launch. It's like 460, I think it was, or 470. But yeah, and that's like not exactly. And sure, you might get some come from post-launch updates, but it's not really. Yeah, it's quite surprising, especially when they have brands like Toyota. Also, it's from what I've seen, the car list, although it has a lot of cars in it, 400 or whatever, not like disregarding the previous game's number, not many of those cars really seem to be that like special or unique to Mexico. Like, I know in Mexico, the Volkswagen Beetle is an incredibly popular car, but there's tons of cars that are like really popular in Mexico, like little sedans and pickup trucks and other things. French brands like Peugeot are also there, which you don't get in America. There's tons of brands and cars that are popular in Mexico, and in the game set in Mexico, they don't really seem to have done anything to really make the cars suit the location. It's like the starter car is a Corvette C8 when the most sold car is like a Beetle there or something. Or like a car that's really popular is a Beetle or low Nissan. Nissan's popular there. Nissan sedans, cheap cars. But we don't get any of those cars. It's like in Horizon 4, we got lots of British cars, 3, lots of Australian cars, but 5 has not gotten any sort of real cars that suit or belong to Mexico. Yeah, those are the 5 points that I have of why I'm not really excited for this game. Although I might still get the game probably, and even make some videos on it. It doesn't really seem to be a game that's doing anything new. And one other side point I'd like to mention is that other racing games, have really piqued my interest and have been doing things that I find interesting. Like The Crew 2 is getting 4 years of support, and they're probably already working on the sequel to The Crew 2, which will probably be a full next-gen game. We have Car X Street coming out, which is coming out later this month, which really focuses on car customization and more urban setting, which is something that's going to be very interesting for a lot of people, including myself. We have Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown coming out next year, and that game is pretty much what lots of people want to see, because Test Drive Unlimited games have had so many unique features way before any other game has, like working convertible roofs, signal lights, and a very luxurious kind of setting. It was kind of like a precursor to Horizon almost, because it had that sort of high class sort of setting of the game. And it's coming out next year. It's set in an Asian map, Hong Kong Island, which looks amazing. And we have Need for Speed 2022, which I'm excited to see what they're going to do with that. And hopefully Need for Speed will come back to be a successful franchise. Meanwhile, Forza is pretty much just releasing the same game over and over and over again, but with a new map and a handful of new cars, which isn't really at all that exciting to me. But yeah, that's been this video. If you did enjoy this video, consider grilling that like button, subscribe if you wish, and this has been PrairieRanger. Over and out.